Okay, so let's get into this. We're talking about stone tools today, but this isn't just about, a bunch of old rocks.
Not at all. What you're really looking at is the first evidence of human engineering. It's the very beginning of problem solving on a planetary scale.
Right, it's the blueprint. You see one of these ancient tools, and you're seeing how our ancestors first learned to actually change the world around them.
Exactly. It's the birth of technology.
Mm.
And it completely changed the game for our survival and how we evolved.
And the initial idea was so simple but so brilliant. Early humans figured out that rocks have properties, physics.
hmm
If you take one stone, the hammer stone, and hit another one, the core, in just the right way.
You could force a break, a predictable break that creates a razor-sharp functional edge.
That's the leap right there, turning a natural object into a purpose-built instrument. And for millions of years, that story really kicks off in one place.
Africa, almost entirely. And that's so important because that's where the earliest humans emerged. So it gives archaeologists this incredible direct timeline.
You can literally map out prehistoric life.
You can.
Hmm.
You can track the shifts in technology and even follow how our ancestors started to migrate across continents.
So if we're following that timeline, where do we start? What's tool number one?
We start with the basics, the Oldowan tradition. This is the oldest stone tool industry we know of, and it starts popping up around 2.6 million years ago.
And Oldowan tools are famous for being, well, pretty simple looking, right? They're often called pebble tools.
Yeah, that's a great description. I mean, if you found one just lying on the ground today, you might not even realize what it is. You'd probably just think it's a broken stone.
So the goal wasn't to make something beautiful.
No, not at all. The focus was 100% on utility right now. The tool maker would just whack a core stone with a hammerstone a few times, knock off a couple of sharp flakes, and boom.
You've got a jagged cutting edge.
You've got a tool. They weren't aiming for perfection. They just needed something sharp.
But that simple jagged edge was a complete game changer. I'm guessing they weren't using these for chopping up vegetables for a salad?
Not quite. These were heavy-duty survival tools. You have to picture the world they lived in. Our ancestors, like Homo habilis,
Yeah, handyman.
right? They were often scavengers, and they were in direct competition with huge, terrifying predators for food.
So you're talking about a race against lions, against hyenas, saber-toothed cats.
Absolutely. Time was everything. A big cat might have teeth and claws to tear meat, sure, but they can't easily get through a thick hide or, more importantly, break open a massive leg bone.
But an Oldowan chopper could.
An Oldowan chopper could. It let Homo habilis get in, butcher meat fast, and crucially, smash open those big bones.
And why were the bones so important?
Marrow. Inside those bones is this incredibly high-energy, high-fat marrow. It's a calorie bomb.
Ah, so before this, they were surviving on, what, plants and small animals?
Pretty much. Lower calorie stuff.
Well.
Now, all of a sudden, they have access to this super fuel.
And that's the connection, the link between the technology and our own evolution. That sudden flood of protein and fat is exactly what you need to grow a bigger brain.
It's the perfect fuel for it. The brain is an energy hog. It just consumes calories like crazy. So by using tools to get better food, they started this powerful feedback loop,
So smarter hands make better tools,
which gets you better food.
which lets your brain grow bigger, and the cycle continues.
Exactly. The very act of making and using tools started selecting for more intelligent individuals over generations.
Okay, let's talk about the actual skill involved here. It's called percussion flaking. It sounds simple, just hitting rocks together.
It sounds simple, but it is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And that's a point that people often miss. You need amazing hand-eye coordination. You need real physical strength.
And it's not just about hitting it hard.
No, it's about geometry. You have to strike the core at a very specific angle, usually just shy of the edge. Hit it too flat, nothing happens. Hit it too hard or at the wrong angle, and the whole thing just shatters into useless pieces.
You just wasted your time in a good rock.
A valuable resource, yeah. It likely took years of practice. An apprentice would watch a master, learning the exact angle, the right amount of force, how to even pick the right stone in the first place.
So this was one of the first forms of teaching, of cultural knowledge being passed down.
Absolutely. This is education.
Yeah.
And it required them to be selective. You can't just use any old rock. You need things like flint or chert or quartz
Why those specifically?
because they fracture in a predictable, curved way. It's called a conchoidal fracture. That's how you get those razor-sharp, reliable edges.
Okay, so that's the older one. Effective, all about survival, but takes real skill. But then, around 1.7 million years ago, something new appears. A massive upgrade.
A huge upgrade. This is the Acheulean industry. And this transition, it really signals a major cognitive leap, a new way of thinking.
So Oldowan tools were reactive, made for the moment. Acheulean tools were, well,
Proactive. They were planned. The design was thought out beforehand.
what's the big difference in how they look?
They're symmetrical. They're often worked carefully on both sides, not just one. Instead of a rough chopper, you start to get this standardized, almost beautiful teardrop shape.
And that's the mental shift you're talking about. To make something symmetrical, you have to picture the final product in your mind before you even make the first strike.
That's it, that foresight. The ability to hold a complex 3D design in your head and then execute maybe hundreds of precise strikes to make it real, that's a huge milestone. It shows an awareness of balance and form that goes way beyond just needing a sharp edge.
And this new toolkit is linked with a new human ancestor, right?
Right, this is the era of Homo erectus. They're the ones strongly associated with the Acheulean toolkit, and they were the first of our ancestors to successfully move out of Africa.
And these sophisticated tools must have been key to that.
They were essential. It's what allowed them to adapt all these new climates and new resources across Asia and Europe.
Let's talk about the most famous tool from this time, the one everyone thinks of, the hand axe.
The iconic artifact. It's bifacial, which just means it's been carefully flaked on both faces. This creates a sharp edge that goes all the way around the perimeter. It's designed to fit perfectly in your palm.
So it's not just a chopper anymore. It's like the Swiss Army knife of the Stone Age.
That's a great way to think about it. It was the ultimate multi-tool. You could use it for butchering, for scraping hides, for digging up roots, maybe even as a weapon.
But the really strange thing is how consistent the shape is. You find the same teardrop design thousands of miles apart.
Which suggests they had a shared cultural idea, a standard for what a proper tool was supposed to look like.
Which raises that question.
Yeah.
Why? Why make it so perfectly symmetrical if all you need is a sharp edge? Is there a functional reason for the beauty?
Most researchers think that for basic function, that level of perfection wasn't strictly necessary. So this leads to the theory that some of them were made for, well, for aesthetic reasons.
You mean they just liked the way they looked?
That, or they served as a status symbol, showing off the maker's incredible skill. Maybe they were part of a social ritual. We're seeing the first hints of art and technology coming together.
And the toolkit wasn't just hand axes. They started making specialized tools for specific jobs.
Exactly. You start seeing things like cleavers. These were big, heavy tools with a wide, straight cutting edge. Not for delicate work.
So what would you use a cleaver for?
For heavy-duty chopping, smashing through the thick joints of a large animal, or maybe even shaping timber for a shelter.
And what else?
You also get scrapers, smaller, more precise tools. They were probably designed for processing animal hides, cleaning them so you can make clothing or shelter coverings.
So their daily life was getting much more complex. They were starting to truly control their environment.
They really were. And to make these better tools, they had to get really picky about their raw materials.
They couldn't just use any nearby rock anymore.
Absolutely not. They would travel, sometimes for miles and miles, to find the best quality flint or obsidian. They knew those stones would break more reliably and produce the sharpest possible edges.
And just carrying those big stones over long distances, it shows a whole new level of thinking.
It shows planning for the future. Resource management. They weren't just thinking about their next meal. They were investing time and energy now for a payoff that might be weeks or months away.
And all this progress, this is something we can actually measure, right? It's not just a guess.
We can. Archaeologists use metrics, like how much cutting edge you get for a certain weight of stone.
So you're measuring the efficiency.
Exactly. And the Acheulean tools are just off the charts compared to the Oldowan ones. You get so much more cutting edge per pound of stone.
More bang for your buck.
A lot more. A typical hand axe might only weigh a pound or two, but because it's been worked so carefully on both sides, it can do vastly more work than a clunky Oldowan chopper of the same weight.
They were optimizing their supply chain millions of years ago.
And that brings us back to that cognitive leap. The fact that you see this same symmetrical teardrop hand axe everywhere for over 1 million years. It's profound.
It proves they were sharing a complex idea, an abstract concept of what a perfect tool should be.
Right. They weren't just making them by accident. And that leaves you with a really big question.
What's that?
If they were communicating this complex design idea, one that involves shape, balance, aesthetics across huge distances and over so many generations, what other complex instructions were they sharing?
Maybe early language, to coordinate hunts, build shelters, to survive together.
It's hard not to think so.
So this journey, from a simple chopper to a perfect hand axe, it's really a map of how the human mind grew up. By mastering stone, our ancestors didn't just gain control over their world.
They fuel the growth of the brain that we have today. They laid the foundation for every single piece of technology that followed. You can look at the stones and see how we learned to think.
Think about that. A shared idea of perfection lasting a million years. What other ideas about the world were they passing on? Just by teaching someone how to strike a rock.
Keep exploring the past. You never know what you'll find. See you next time.